every creation has a process. And, you know, there's a lot of humans who want to create, right? They have the vision, they have the inspiration to move into where they want to go. But what happens is they don't follow through the steps and the stages of the creation process. So what they're going to show us today and what they want to talk about is the universal creation process. Okay. So it's not, right? It's not the creator going, I'm going to create this, and today I'm going to create this, and tomorrow I'm going to create that, and then the next day and the next day. That's not how creation works. Creation is an interactive process. Okay. And interactive means that it's constantly being participated in, right? Everyone's participating in it. So, for example, when the creator began this universe, okay, his first, like, he's sharing with me, he is here as well. So, and yes, it's a he. For all the comments that I receive that it's not a he, okay. We all have our perspective, but from my understanding and explorations, definitely a he. So ultimately, the creator had to have an intention for existence. Otherwise, existence wouldn't have come into being. Okay. So this is the whole concept of creating something from nothing, which, you know, humans want to do all the time, but you're trying to do it from your mind, which is why it's not working. You're not using universal energy. You're not using universal wisdom and universal information, right? So that's what we're going to do today, is bring you back to that core level of universal wisdom. So you have the knowledge and the information you need to create anything you want in your life going forward. Okay. But it's primal. So you have to, in order to get this, right, you have to feel the energy. So if you're not, you know, if you're not comfortable feeling energy, if you're new to feeling energy, basically energy is always flowing through us as human beings. Okay. It's not complicated, and you don't have to overcomplicate, right? Like, let go of all these things in your brain that says you can't do it and you don't know how to do it, and start to go, okay, where is it? Where is it in me? Because it is there. And so just that recognition that you're flowing energy, like you're aware that energy is flowing through you, just that recognition itself, okay, will propel your understanding into the next level. It's when we say and we tell ourselves, no, I can't do this, I can't do that, you know, I don't know how, I haven't taken a course in this. You don't have to take courses in any of this, right? You know, all that whole concept of modalities are based on a world, right, that loves the education system. The education system says you don't know what you need to know, and you don't have the capacity to understand things as they come to you. So you need someone to interpret everything. That's what the education system does, right? And so modalities fall into that bucket, if you will. And so what I'm encouraging you to do is to come back to your primal roots. Recognize that not only are you running energy, okay, you're running your energy, but you're also, so it's funny the way they're showing me right now. They want you to think about the energy that's inside of you, like spidey senses, but it's like the energy that's running through, it has its own intelligence. Okay. So if you imagine every cell in your body, and they have like antennas, but they don't just have two antennas, right? They're all over each cell. They're all around it. And so energy running through you has a whole bunch of antennas coming out of it. Now, why they want you to have that visual is because it's like the cilia on your lungs, right? Those little hairs that protect your lungs. That's what these little antennas in your energy are. Okay. So even though you don't think about them all the time, they're there, they're functioning, they're highly functioning. You know, this is where a lot of people are like, oh, I'm an empath. We're all empaths. Every human on the planet is empathic. Why? Because we were designed that way. And it's all based on the universal energy of love, because the universal energy of love is the foundation of universal communication. Super important. So this energy that's flowing through you is universally known as love, right? Because that's the energy of communication. But more than that and bigger than that, it's understanding that it's your connection to everything, right? This is how you access universal information. This is how you access information about your soul, about your children's souls and your partner's souls, your spouse and your coworkers and your community members, so that it's not you going in and getting, intimate details that have nothing to do with you, right? It's not confidential. That's not what we're looking for, right? Although you have access to all of that, but you don't have access if your intention is to use it for harm or judgment. Okay? So judgment is huge amounts of harm. So, for example, right? If one of your neighbors, let's say, is going through something, your ability to feel into the energy of the situation and their soul, to allow yourself to become aware of, how can I participate? How can I participate in this human's experience? Because, and here's the thing, if you feel bad for them, don't help. Don't help at all, because all you're going to do is feed them pity. But if you're in a place where you can go, oh gosh, they're having a challenge, and who can I be to allow them to become who they're meant to be, right? Because now that's a big universal question, right? It's not and don't just use those words, okay? Excuse me, this is really important. Because remember that energy that I was talking about that's flowing through you? If your energy is feeling pity and you're like, oh, I'm just going to cover it up with some words that say, how can I allow them to become who they're meant to be? But your energy is still giving off pity. Then it's your energy that's speaking to the universe and everyone at large. It's not your words. And this is really important, because most people think that when I say something, it'll cancel something else out, right? It's like, oh, if I say something negative, I better say something positive 3 times quickly so that I cancel out the negative thing I said. It doesn't matter what you say. You see, language and words are the last line of defense, really, is how I'm seeing it, because your energy is speaking. It's speaking to the universe. It's speaking volumes in everything you do. And this is why, okay, this is why you can't create the life you want. You can't create the experiences you want. It's not because you're not using the right words. It's because your energy isn't aligned with the thing you want to create. Your energy is aligned with the deficit that you believe is in you, whether you can't because you don't have enough money, you don't have the right people around you, you don't have the right opportunities, you don't have the time, whatever it is that your energy is aligned with is the experience that you're creating. Okay? Let me help you understand this. So when the creator began creation, okay, he first had to begin with an intention for existence, an intention. And so his intention originally was super small, okay? So it's like a pinhead, right? The size of the head of a pin. That was the beginning of the universe. So the original intention was for existence to begin. And it began as a tiny speck. And then he's showing me he wanted to create a home. And as his intention expanded, so it's like very slow motion, and yet like there's not even numbers that can tell you how old our universe itself is, because it's outside of time and space. So there is no numbers, there's no quantification of it. And ultimately, it was the expansion came as the intention grew richer. So when he wanted to create a home first, it was like a home for particles, if you will. We're going to use that word because that's the closest word. But for particles of existence to exist. Now, they had to come from somewhere. So where did they come from? They came from his intention for them to be here. His intention, the creator, his intention for them to exist. And so what began to happen then is the particles began to participate in existence, because as soon as you come into existence, you're participating. And when you're participating, you're making impact, okay? And how you're impacting existence determines the evolution of the intention. See? Okay, this is really important because, and this is where most humans get it wrong, right? They set the intention and then they wait for it to come. They're like, oh, I thought this so hard in my head. I was so focused on it. And it's supposed to just show up, but it never happens. It doesn't just show up because your intention didn't evolve with the participation, right? Those two. So as the particles evolved, they became more, because when more than one particle evolves or is in existence, now there's a relationship. Now they're going to be reacting to each other, right? So the intention for existence has to expand to include that interaction that didn't exist before. Okay? And so then what happens is now you've got multiplication. And what that means is you have a whole bunch of things happening at once. So you have minerals multiplying, okay? And you have, okay, so hold on. I'm with the creator and I'm like, okay, so how do minerals multiply? So he says minerals multiply simply on the intention to allow them to. So as soon as you create space for them, you're like, he's showing me, right? So there was one and then there was two, and he was like, oh, this is great. Their interaction is it's interesting. And at that time it was fascinating because there was nothing else in existence before. And so he went, okay, let's create space, right? So we'll open the energy and we'll allow more to come into being. That's an intention, okay? It's so important because when you're setting an intention, you're like, okay, I want to do this, but I need this much money and I need this person to do this and this person to do this and this person to do this. You see, he didn't do any of that. He just said, I'm going to hold space because the next step is more of them. You see, it's simple. He didn't think it. It was just, okay, it's an expansion of what's there and its potential. Okay. So then from this place, this expansion of, it's like molecules. It's just how I'm seeing it, right? Like molecules in space. Right. Okay. So we'll just go with that because ultimately space had to be created, right? Like, and we're not at the level yet where we can go into that depth. What he's talking about today is just creation. Okay. So once the expansion is there and now multiplication is occurring. So all of these cells are multiplying, or these minerals, sorry, not big on scientific words because I don't have a lot of them, but I can tell you what they're showing me, and that's more important, okay? So ultimately, as this multiplication in this is occurring, right, that's expansion. So the existence is getting bigger. And so then it became aware, like he became aware that existence needed a being, like a creative is how he's showing me. So a creative that would love, and this is also super important, that his nature would be to create different types of cells and structures and molecules and matter. And what I mean by different types, okay? So this has nothing to do with physical representation at this point. So matter at this time in the original intention, okay, it's all energetic. It's all based on frequency and vibration. So, and this comes back to the energy, right? It comes back to the energy with those little antennas. Depending on the frequency of the energy, it reacts and acts differently. So his intention was to create a being who was curious about what he could create with all of those different aspects of energy. How could he create energy in different ways that would not only create different opportunities and different experiences, but different results? Okay. So different types of, and so here's the thing, the creator didn't want to do that himself. He created someone to do it. Okay. This is the important part because this is the collaboration process. Okay. And this is where a lot of people, they're like, I need to do this on my own. Okay. But you have to understand how creation works. So yes, you have a role in a fulfillment, but your role in fulfillment will contribute to the greater picture. There is no superstar in this, in this universe. And that whole concept of fame and fortune has led you to believe that you have to be the one. But it's understanding that when we're all the one that we were created to be, then everything expands, you included, right? But the world we live in has taught us that if you're not the one up there, lights and name and shining stars and all of those things, that you're not going to expand without that level. And what the universe is saying is we're all meant to be at that level. But the hierarchy concept, as introduced by universal or by inside of this society, is what broke your awareness of your constitution. Again, constitution is not a legal binding document. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the constitution, which is the collective wisdom, so energetic wisdom, sovereign intelligence of your creation. That's what we're talking about, okay? So once the creator deemed that he wanted to experience a being whose absolute nature was to create opportunities in energy to see what it could do, to form shapes, form different experiences, right? So that's how the first stream angelic came into being. So once he came into being, he was like, oh, we're going to need some more of us. Let's see what we can do. But that wasn't until he started doing it. He was already doing it, creating absolutely incredible things, right? He was creating things like, I can hear it. It's like frequencies and vibrations. So he was the one who, oh, that's beautiful. So the first stream angelic, the first one, he's the one who created the concept of, it's like the scale of frequency in our universal existence. So the scale of frequency, which is energy, he created it. And so as he created it, okay, so there's different, it's like, I think about it as a radio, an old school radio, not digital, where you actually have to turn the knob, right? So you turn it until you get into the right tune, you tune into the right frequency. And so he created the concept of different frequencies have the capacity to create different energetic experiences. And as a result, matter came from that. I mean, billions and trillions of years later, if we're looking at it in time and space concepts, after his original, that's what happened. So he created that system. And I'm using that word very, very loosely, okay? That frequency. And so what happened is once he really got going, then the creator was like, more. let's do this. Let's do more. Let's do this with more of us, more together. Let's expand this universe out. Let's see what we're capable of. Because again, the original intention was free will. Let's see what this universe can do. That was really his question. Let's see what this universe can do, right? So that, you know, there's so many people who think that, you know, God is up there waiting to judge you at the end of your life, and that he's watching all the time and going, oh no, you shouldn't have done that and you shouldn't have done this. That's a whole load of crap. What he's up there doing is he's seeing where you're interested in creating more. That's it. And when you fall down, when you have a challenge, he's there to say, come on, let's keep going. This is brilliant. What you just learned is incredible, right? But what you were taught, this is different, okay? What you were taught is to hold shame and guilt because of the society we live in, right? To all of a sudden, because of an experience you had, you now carry fear. But not from the universal perspective, not from God, not from Jesus, not from any of them. From all the universal beings, they're looking and going, look at what you just learned. How incredible is that? And you will often, you know, take your experiences and then hide in a closet, hide in a corner, not go out, not talk to certain types of people anymore, not talk in certain situations anymore. Some people don't even go out. They won't put themselves out there anymore because their brain has gone into, I'm being judged. And why this is important right now is to come back and understand that the universe could not have expanded to where it is today if there was any judgment. Just feel that, okay? So this judgment thing has only gone on for 50,000 years. So the original intention of existence and how not only universal beings lived and existed, but humans have been around for millions of years, millions. Like this is not new, not new. And when we originally came here, we were in full awareness. But it's important to understand that your existence is based on conscious intelligence, like the intelligence of the universe itself. So let's go back now. We're going to continue on with this process so you can understand that the creation process is really all about participation. Because the moment that now, right now he's got a whole stream, right? So a stream, it's like millions and millions of beings, and they're not lined up like military personnel. They're existing in the universe in alignment with how they're meant to exist. So what happens is now you've got millions of angelics who are creating all kinds of different types of matter based on the original frequency system that the first angelic created. But what's going to happen to that frequency system if everyone's using it? It's going to expand. It's going to have more nuances, right? There's going to be more intricate and intimate details that weren't there before. And they're going to come into being every day of existence. Why? Because you've got millions of beings contributing to this concept of matter itself. You see, so the participation is what expanded not only the experience, but it expanded the potential of the experience. So it's expanded everything out. So we started at this pinhead and now we've expanded out. And all of a sudden, we now come to this place where there's so many beautiful different frequencies in experience, in existence, okay? So imagine for a minute that you've got this massive, it's like outer space, okay? And in outer space, there's just whole pieces of matter floating around. They have a frequency, but they're just floating there. They're doing nothing together, right? So what has to happen? Well, then the first stream angelic, the original one, and the creator, as well as the entire stream of first stream, because everybody is going to have wisdom. Everyone has knowledge and experience of creating all the different kinds of matter, okay? universal matter. So it's not just physical matter, it's energetic, it's all of it. And so they came to this awareness that the matter needed to have experience. It needed to have experiences more than it was having. Okay, so floating there, being, had been enough for, a billion years or billions of years. And all of a sudden, they were like, okay, we're ready for more. Just like you in your life. You work at a job and you're like, okay, I'm ready for more. And you're in a relationship with something and you're like, okay, I'm ready for more. Whether it's a friend, whether it's, a romantic relationship, I'm ready for more. Well, the universe works on the same fundamentals. That's why you have those instincts that say, I'm ready for more. Okay. And so what happened is now you've got the possibility of creating experience. Well, okay. So we need to now, so this is where the creator in the first stream angelic, we need to now create beings who can handle that capacity. Why? Because neither of them, that's not who they are. Who they are is what they do. So the creator is here to hold space for the entire universe. He cannot go and over here and micromanage and say, okay, well, I'm going to create experience. That's not his job. His job is to hold space for the entire universe. And the first stream angelics, their job is to hold space and continue the expansion of frequency in existence itself so that they can continue to create matter. Okay? So they need to create what is missing. And what was missing at that point was experience. And so they created the beings who created experience. You see, so it's also important to understand the creator didn't create all of these things by himself. He created the first being, and together they created everything else. So every being in existence it's like that's the hierarchy, okay? So the creator, and it's funny because the way he's showing me is it doesn't come from the top, it comes from the bottom. So the creator is at the bottom. And when he created the first angelic, it expanded. And then they created a whole stream of first angelic. So it expanded a lot. And then all of those beings are now participating. So everyone's participating. And then the next stream, so the second stream of angelics, which are beings who create experience, but all the beings before them created them. You see? So it's not just the creator going, I want this, I want that. This is also part of your learning today, okay? Really good. It's understanding that you're a collaboration. By the time it got to humans, right? There's a massive collaboration. And now we're at this human level and we're trying to create things and we can't do it because we're not willing to collaborate because we want to be the one that's at the top because we grew up in a world that says this is what success looks like. But it's not universal success because it's not universal participation. It's based on a whole bunch of lies. Your success is based on collaboration. Now, here's the important part. Collaboration does not mean, okay, this is important, that you need to wait for somebody else to be ready to go with you, that you need to wait for somebody else to give you permission, that you need to wait for somebody else to give you the money, that you need to wait for somebody else to say, okay, it's okay for you to do that. I'm going to be comfortable with it. That is not how that worked, okay? What a collaboration is recognizing you have your role. When you fulfill your role, then the universe shows up and says, here's the partners to collaborate with on the next step. Oh, and that's where you went? Perfect. So now we're going to send you the collaborators for your next part and your next part and your next part. But here, the thing is in your brain, you've already decided how it all needs to look. So maybe you're overlooking the possibilities that are going to come out of all of these experiences. You see, that's the thing. So if you know you're meant to do something, and you continue to sit there and go, well, I need this money. I need to get this money and I need to get this support. You will never reach your goal because you're not actually participating in universal existence, right? It's just like those people. There's so many people that have these ideas and they're like, I can't share it with the world because someone's going to steal my idea. Here's the reality, okay? The people who are stealing your ideas, don't worry about it. All you're doing is you literally fed them an idea, because it was actually meant to be theirs, but it was meant to be in the universe, and you did that. So what? Who cares? They took it and made it into something. Stop feeling sorry for yourself that they took it and made it into something, because it literally means that the universe was trying to show you that you are a creator, and you literally have the idea to spark ideas for existence into life. And you went down a spiral and you were so angry and frustrated that somebody else took your idea and ran with it, or you don't do anything because you're so scared that someone's going to do that. You sit on it like an egg in a nest. Nobody can see it. You keep saying to everybody, I got this great thing and I'm sitting on it and it's so cool and it's so special, but I can't share it with anybody. You know what happens when you don't share? You're not collaborating with the universe, right? That's the me, mine, gimme. It's you waiting for the world to give you everything you need. That's not how the universe works. The universe began with the creator giving, being, expanding, seeing potential, and then participating in it. And then every being thereafter did the same thing. You, as a human, as a soul in this universe, originally knew how to do this. You've done this for millions of years. There's a very, very rare occasion, I've only met one in my entire life, of a human who's never been in human form before. And that person is extremely rare. Most humans have lived thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands of lives. And they're showing me even millions. But not life like we're living now, right? So you are your ancestors. You are. You've come back so many times. And that's because you have an innate wisdom, understanding, knowledge of universal existence. You also have an innate desire to participate in expanding it. So every single life you have is contributing to expansion of existence. It's innate within you. So now you showed up in this life and you're like, what the actual heck is going on? Why? Because you try to do things in your natural way and you come up against this barrier and this barrier. But those barriers, okay, are telling you you're not actually aligned with universal existence in your intention. Come back. Don't get frustrated. Don't get angry and see all the things that you can't do. Come back to the place that says, okay, so clearly the way I was trying to participate is not aligned with my nature. I'm not aligned with universal existence. Because if you were, and when you are, it naturally continues to expand and evolve. Okay? So when you start to come up against that place where it's not expanding, it's because you're not participating in the way that you're meant to. And I'm using that word very specifically because you're meant to really participate in your life aligned with universal existence and your soul's wisdom, your soul's intelligence, right? But if you're trying to do it with human intelligence, it's not going to work. All the people who are super successful in this world are participating at soul level participation, soul level intelligence. Same with those who created the system to control and manipulate humanity. That's what they used, soul level intelligence. Super simple. That's how they're able to control so many humans. So instead of being angry and worrying about all that stuff that's going on, because honestly, the people who are meant to be tearing down those systems are doing a fantastic job. What we need more than anything in the world right now is humans who understand how to create existence. Because the future of humanity literally relies on our ability to come back into the intelligence, the universal intelligence of how to create existence. Because if we don't come back into it, the future will be exactly the same, a repeat of what we've been doing over and over and over again. That's what this is doing. That's why we need to bring the story of creation back to humanity, because you need to understand the intelligence that's inside of you and how you're meant to exist in alignment with that intelligence. This is not about your mind and how smart you are and how many things you've accomplished. It's about your roots and your origins and the energy that flows through your body, through your cells, through your mind. But more importantly, it's your connection, the energy that flows through you. It facilitates a connection with the intelligence of the universe, right? That's the alignment I'm talking about. I'm not talking about your brain having the same idea as your best friend. And you're like, oh, this is so cool. We can do the same thing. And all of a sudden, one of you decides I want it to look a little bit different. And then someone else gets a little bit annoyed, or you keep going and it's beautiful. It's understanding, okay, that alignment is energetically aligned. There's room for growth. That's the difference between, relationships, whether they're friendships, whether they're spouse relationships, but it's career relationships, right? The difference between relationships that grow and relationships that stagnate and then ultimately crumble is the ability to choose participation. It's all in how you participate. So a lot of people will say they're participating, but if you don't want anything to change, if you don't want that person to change, if you don't want anything in the relationship to change, it's a stagnant energy. There's no expansion, there's no growth. The ones that succeed, the people who, go on, like spouses who stay together, and you can see it, they just fall more deeply in love because that's what we're meant to do, because it's a consistent expansion of the energy. More is the key. It's not being greedy and saying, I want more, and I'm just going to wait till you show up. That's not expansion. Expansion is, where's the room for growth for me to participate in? That's the whole concept of existence. Where are you meant to participate? How are you going to participate? Because here's the thing, your inspirations, those are your ideas. Those are, how your soul is sharing with you. Participate over here. Participate over here. Right? Maybe you're in a marriage that's a little rocky right now, right? And so, you're showing different inspirations of, I could do this and I could do that. And then all of a sudden your mind gets involved and your mind gets angry and frustrated and resentful because the other person isn't. Well, you're just feeding back and forth resentment. You're not actually feeding expansion, right? It's the same thing if you are in a job, in a career, and, you want a better experience in your work life, but your boss is not really kind, is not really friendly. Maybe they're a micromanager, but it doesn't mean they have to go. It means that because you noticed it, you have the potential to create expansion in that situation. But we're so worried because here's the thing, we're like, that person, is going to take the credit for what I'm doing. Maybe someone's been taking credit for what you're doing for 10 years. But if you're angry about it, that means that you're no longer expanding. It's your anger that's limiting your experience, not the person who's stealing your ideas. You have to come back and remember that. It's not about someone else taking credit for what you're doing. It's understanding that when you're angry, that's the frequency and vibration you're putting out. And anger does not multiply. It does not expand. It festers. And that's different energy. So it gets bigger, but it's festering. So what happens is it's like a gaping hole at the bottom of existence, and you're just dropping into it instead of going up into expansion. And I'm using up and down because there is no such thing as time and space in the whole concept, but it's a different frequency, okay? It's not universal. It's not expansion. So ultimately, what today was about is we're starting to talk about creation. We're starting to get you back, right? Out of the brain and all the training that you've endured for lifetimes, because it's not just you in this lifetime, but when you're born into this life, right, you're picking up generations of beliefs. So that's what we're doing right now, right? That's the hardship that humanity is enduring, right? It's layers and layers and layers, generations of beliefs that are aligned with static, right? There's no movement. It's static existence. So in order to overcome that, imagine this big, huge, giant static block, and we have to get it out of the way, right? That's what we're doing. But you can't move it it's not like, and this is where you see a lot of people, they're like, come on, come do this. We'll do a meditation for peace, or we'll do a meditation for love, or we'll do a meditation, blah, 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 blah. And you're trying to get as many people as you can to do what you want them to do. No. How this is meant to work is you're meant to bring your frequency up, your vibration up. How do you do that? By participating, by aligning with universal existence. Because you know what happens? You create a space for every single human you come into connection or contact with. Whether it's a person walking down the street past you and you will never have a conversation with them, your energy is conversing with them. It's just because remember, humans are just like trees. We've talked about this in past episodes of the story of creation. We are all communicating. Why? Because we were encoded to do that, right? That's the energy and the frequency of universal love. So even if you don't like someone, even if you think they're angry or, they're crazy, whatever your brain tells you, there's no way. You are communicating with everyone about everything. And what you're meant to do is start tuning in to that frequency so you can actually get the information and use it. So, there's so many people over the years. I've been doing this work for 22 years, and there's so many people in private sessions. And, their first question is, what is my purpose? What am I meant to do in this world? They're literally looking for a job description. They want me to tell them, this is your title. This is what you're meant to do for the universe. But it doesn't work that way. It's understanding that your purpose is to participate, is to align yourself with existence and continue to contribute to expanding existence. How do you do that? By following the questions that you have, following the things that you're curious about, and allowing yourself to be in. Let go of the anger, the resentment, the jealousy, the judgment, because those are what's poisoning you. It's not the external world. It's not the government or the systems that are here that are poisoning you. It's your beliefs inside of you that are poisoning your ability to evolve and expand. Okay? We're going to go deeper. Check us out next time. If you're not already, subscribe, because then you're going to get the next episode as soon as it's released. If you haven't watched the story of creation from the beginning, right here, click it, check it out. It's fantastic. I have learned so much, and I continue to learn every single time I do another part of the story. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.